Stepping up our game, rising from the underground, playing our sound to the overground crowd, making it for the girl that never turn the sound down. We blast our tunes so loud, come around and have us. Drink what you have, give me love, give me that drop. Get down low, baby, make your hands clap. Show me some love tonight, show me some love. Drink what you have, give me love, give me that drop. Get down low, baby, make your hands clap. Stepping up our game, rising. Stepping up our game, rising.
And welcome to another episode of AATB Draft Talk. Joined as always by my co-host Tom Barnett, and we're going to talk about my final mock draft. So next week's going to be fun. I'm going to talk about that at the end of the show, what we're going to be doing. But this week, I did a mock draft. It's going to be my final mock draft. It's going to be in video form to start, and then we have pick by pick. So that's what we're going to do. But so I want to talk to you, Tommy. How's it all going? Everything going well? Great and ready for the draft? It's not that far away.
Yeah, it's creeping up on us pretty quick now. I'm kind of sad, though, in a way, because the show is going to be coming to an end almost. I mean,
well, it'll be coming to an end, but we're going to be putting a little bit of a twist. So that's something definitely in the next couple of weeks. Well, we'll say 2 weeks. We'll announce it, but a little twist we have coming on the show. So we're going to be going away, but not. So it's definitely keep tuned for that. But I'm going to run the video. We're going to run down my final mock draft and got a couple cool wrinkles in there. So enjoy the video, and we will break it all down on the other side. So a lot of things happening in that short video, breaking down my whole entire mock draft. We're gonna bring up the PowerPoint of each pick, go pick by pick. And anyone who missed the video, I will play it again at the end. But of course, it's been that for weeks now. We've kind of had that since we started. But stuff came out, I guess, this week talking about, I guess, his desire. I know there was a lot of, people bringing that up, and I guess he tried to clear the air. I think it was today or yesterday he posted something. But for me, I think he has the desire to play. I don't think that's really an issue, and he's going to Jacksonville, and that's their quarterback. That's who Urban Meyer wants.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think people have just basically run out of something to talk about, so they're just making a story about Lawrence with this.
Yeah. Of course, number 2, guy that we've had for a little bit now, Zach Wilson, BYU. New York traded their quarterback, Sam Darnold. So to me, this is the second no-brainer. I think basically 1, 2 are probably set in stone, and possibly 3. The way I have 3, I guess we could say top 3 are set in stone in terms of quarterbacks. But Zach Wilson, to me, is the pick for the Jets. They get franchise quarterback, someone to fit the system of basically going to be the new offensive coordinator. But there's a new head coach there, so he wants a new signal caller.
Yeah, I'm with you there on Wilson too. I feel like he's pretty much a lock to go to at this point.
Yeah, and number 3 is where it gets a little interesting because there's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter of Mac Jones, and I just don't know about the whole Mac Jones thing. And the whole Justin Fields is basically getting talked down, his work ethic, all this stuff, which I think is just a lot of chatter to try to push him down. Teams throwing stuff out there to push him down. But Justin Fields, if you watched him this year and even the year before that, he's bona fide a starting caliber, franchise caliber quarterback. It's really not that hard to see. And I just feel Fields will fit Shanahan's system very well. And I feel like it's a type of quarterback that the 49ers have not had. I'm going to say they haven't had a dynamic quarterback like that since Kaepernick. And I think Fields is probably a couple notches better than Kaepernick. And I just feel that this is a tone setter for a team that gets a franchise quarterback. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo is there. But they're going to be getting a lot of players healthy, especially on that defense. But I got to go Justin Fields here, and especially with his pro day and everything. And I know San Fran was there for him and everything, but I'm going Justin Fields, San Francisco.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of unfair to Fields how much he's been criticized throughout this draft process compared to every other quarterback. We were talking about it a little bit before the show, but after the first few games of this season, everyone was hyping up Justin Fields as QB2 or even QB number 1, saying, oh, it's now a debate. Like, is he better than Lawrence? And now somehow we've gotten to the point where he could be quarterback 5. How does that happen? Because of two games where he played a little below average? Like, yeah, that game against Northwestern was worrisome, but I mean, I wouldn't drop him below. I wouldn't put Mac Jones over him because of that one game.
But the thing is, you talk about that, and what about Trevor Lawrence versus Ohio State this year? Like,
yep.
You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to be perfect 100% of the time. They are college quarterbacks, and there is always room to improve. So, but what Justin Fields has showed you is that he can improve, and I feel with Shanahan is basically one of the perfect coaches for him because he's going to help him mold him into a very good player because Shanahan's taken worse. So I think that's a great fit for them. And Jason's here commenting, he said, mark my words, Fields will be better than Wilson. Honestly, I feel the same way. I have a lot of doubts with Wilson. I understand Wilson's talent and what he showed you, and that I just feel Justin Fields is just one notch below Trevor Lawrence, and I just have a lot of doubt with Zach Wilson. And hey, Zach Wilson may be a top flight quarterback, and I may eat my words, but that's just how I feel too. I just feel that Fields is just going to be a lot better than Wilson. Now, number 4 is where I had a trade. I did something a little different. I had to trade up, and I have the Bears basically risking it all, going all the way up to number 4 to get a quarterback. And I have them going Trey Lance. I know they signed Andy Dalton, and he's the bridge quarterback. He's the 1-year deal. You get Trey Lance. He sits behind Dalton, and he learns. And he's basically, does he possibly save Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's jobs for another year to see? Maybe, but I just feel the Bears, they haven't had a quarterback since what, Jim McMahon maybe, if you really even call that a franchise quarterback. But
Rex
really
Grossman.
Rex Grossman,
Jay Cutler,
Jim Miller, Jay Cutler, Shane Matthews. They've had some pretty bad quarterback play over the years. So I feel they go all in. They get a quarterback because they were unsuccessful in getting any real, top flight quarterbacks this offseason. So they go Trey Lance, get a guy that hopefully could be their franchise quarterback. Maybe I'm kind of going a little bit off here because they did pick a guy who maybe only had one really good year last time they drafted a quarterback real high, and that was Mitch Trubisky. So,
and it's right there, right with San Fran's pick, like it was when they picked Trubisky.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into deeper with that, but I just feel Trey Lance would be, a guy that they could build around then after Andy Dalton basically is 1 year. Number 5, I know there's a lot of chatter with, the Bengals and Jamar Chase. But to me, it's, you got to protect your quarterback. You got to protect your franchise investments you made last year, your number 1 pick from last year, Joe Burrow. And that's why I'm going with Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, Oregon, super athletic player. But I know that they signed Riley Reif in free agency. But again, he's not an all-world player. Sewell is a guy that you can build your franchise around on the offensive line and have him there for years to come. And I feel like that's the selection you have to make. I understand you want to go wide receiver, but you have T. Higgins, you have Tyler Boyd, you have already some weapons there. To me, I think you need to go with what is there, and the top offensive tackle is there. You have to pick them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've been all in on Sewell for a while now for the same reasons as you. You have to protect Joe Burrow. And the kid, Sewell is only 20 years old. I mean, there is so much room for him to still grow too.
Yeah. And like I mentioned before, it gives them the opportunity to move their offensive line around because they have a few guys playing out of position that really aren't their strong suits. So, Jonah Williams can move inside, and it can help them in the long run. But number 6, I feel Miami, if Jamar Chase is there, I feel they're going receiver at number 6, whether it's Jamar Chase, whether it's Waddle, whether it's Smith. I feel like they're going to go receiver with that pick. And Jamar Chase is sitting there, and I'm going Jamar Chase. I know it's going to make some Eagles fans upset because Eagles would have been selected here, and they'd be able to get either Chase or Pitts. But unfortunately, they're at number 12, so they are not in the position to make that selection. So I have them picking Miami picking Jamar Chase. I know they have Devontae Parker, but you need to add – he's the best receiver in the class. You add another guy on the outside for Tua because, Tua needs some weapons. I know he didn't play great last year, but he's a young quarterback, and it gives him the weapons.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it's kind of between Chase and Pitts here. I would go Chase with 2 also, though.
Yeah. And then number 7, I had another trade. Bill Belichick, sign in free agency a bunch of players to, deepen his roster and add to positions of need. So I feel that they have the ammunition to then trade up because they can just go and get kind of what they want. Yeah, Cam Newton signed a 1-year deal. Yeah, they have Jarrett Stidham, but I feel if they think a quarterback is a need and, there is a quarterback still sitting on the board, I feel Mac Jones could be the pick for the New England Patriots. It gets a guy. Maybe he doesn't play this year. If Cam struggles like he struggled last year, they can insert Jones in there to play. And I just feel like Mac Jones, to me, I don't know what it is. It's Mac Jones kind of looks and feels like a New England Patriots quarterback. Not the most athletic player in the world, but can make the throws, and I feel can get better each game that he plays. So I feel it's a great pick.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like they've went all in basically in free agency. If they do like Mac Jones, now is the time to trade up and get him. This is a good spot. Hopping Carolina, Denver. Make sure that you go and get your guy. Do I think Mac Jones is a franchise quarterback though? I'm not 100% sold on him quite yet, but going to New England with Belichick would be a great start to.
Yeah, and like I said, this isn't what I would do personally for each franchise. It's just something that I can see. I guess it's almost like I can see these things. It's not something that I would pick if I'm New England. I stay at 15 and I wait and see what drops to me. But going on kind of what I think possibly could happen, because the draft is always crazy. We see things happening all the time. You see the Raiders picking players out of the blue that you don't even think are first rounders. You see, things happen. Seattle, the same thing. They just well, too bad they don't have a first round pick, so they can't go and select a third round running back with their first round selection. But number 8, Carolina. I thought about this one. Thought about going defensive back with them, but I just feel that offensive tackle is a major need for them. And when you have a guy like Rashawn Slater still available, I feel like that's the pick that Carolina should go. You get a guy you could put at left tackle. I know Taylor Moton is there. He's a really solid right tackle, so it gives them some bookends for Darnold, who is the starting quarterback for them. So this is I think it's a no-brainer if Slater is there. And also, you're ahead of Dallas, who could also go offensive tackle as well. So I feel Slater is a heck of a pick. And, Slater and Sewell are really close. It's not like it's Sewell, at number 1 and then all the way at number 2 there. Really far gap is Slater. It really isn't that. It's pretty close. And I feel that Carolina will be jumping for joy if a guy like Slater is there and they take him to build that offensive line.
Yeah, I think Slater's a good pick here. The only other 2 picks I would if I'm going on the offensive side of the ball, it's all on Slater. But on defense, I would consider Parsons or one of the corners also. I think Parsons would add a lot to that defense. But I do like Slater a lot. I'm with you. He's kind of close to Sewell on the same level almost.
Yeah, and you bring up Parsons, and with number 9, Denver signed 2 corners in the offseason. Not saying corner is not a need for them still, but they re-signed Kareem Jackson. So their secondary, they did add some players there. So I feel, at number 9, I don't know if corner would be an ideal selection for them. That's why you have one of the best defensive players still on the board in Micah Parsons. I feel Parsons would be a great addition to that defense. And, a Vic Fangio defense that they can use Parsons in so many different ways. They could use him rush to passer. They can play linebacker. He can cover. They can do so many things with him that I think it's almost like when the Bears drafted Roquan Smith. So you get a player of high caliber like Parsons to add to that defense. And they added the secondary pieces in free agency. Von Miller's coming back. You have Bradley Chubb. You have pieces on that defense. Shelby Harris. So you add a guy like Micah Parsons in the middle of that defense. It's going to help that that team, especially playing in a tough division in the AFC West.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the idea of adding Parsons there and building upon that defense. The offense they have a weapon there in Judy. They have Fant. They're still pretty young on that offense. I think they might get it going in the second year in their offensive system with Shermer. So I'd work on the defense a little bit, try to keep some continuity on that offense.
So number 10 here, I know it's gonna, may upset some people seeing Dallas Cowboys selecting a tight end. And I have them going Kyle Pitts at number 10. Now, I know there's a lot of talk with Jerry Jones loving Pitts, and they could possibly go corner. I know there's a lot of corners still on the board. All the corners are still on the board. But I just feel same thing happened last year with CeeDee Lamb. There's a player Jerry Jones loves, and he's there. He's going to take him. So I'm going Kyle Pitts. I know it's not going to make anyone in this area happy. It may not even make you happy being a Giants fan, but to me, it's like the rich get richer on the offensive side of the ball. To me, in my opinion, it'd be the wrong pick, but just what I feel is if he's there and Dallas is picking, I think Dallas takes him.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance that they take Pitts. If it were me though, I would probably go with one of the corners. You get your pick here of your favorite one, and that's probably their biggest need right now is in the secondary. That defense was pretty brutal last year, and they already do have the weapons on offense with picking Lamb last year. But I mean, Pitts is hard to turn away here at 10.
Yeah. Number 11, your New York Giants. I have them, there's receivers on the board, but they don't need a receiver. They sign guys. I feel that Kwity Paye is there for them. It gives them that edge rusher that they desperately need. The defensive side of the ball, they have a stout defensive line in terms of with Leonard Williams and Dalvin Tomlinson, but they're not pass rushers. They may get to the quarterback, but they're not guys that are going to get you double-digit sacks or the potential to get you double-digit sacks. So I think Kwity Paye is a great pick. And I know you like it because you're very high on Paye. So it's for you, it's a good pick.
Yeah, we lost Dalvin Tomlinson too to free agency this year, so I could definitely see him trying to add a pass rusher. The Giants are always a little hard to figure out, though. I feel like
for Lawrence, that's who I'm thinking of.
Yeah. So I think if Rashawn Slater's still around, this pick becomes more of a debate because I could see them wanting to go guard after losing Kevin Zeitler. I could kind of see them like maybe not going with Kwity Paye, maybe going Azeez Ojulari. Maybe someone with a little bit more of that speed rusher to him, little more. He's got a lot of upside. I like Azeez Ojulari a lot also, but I do like the Kwity Paye pick a lot. He's my favorite edge in this class.
All right, and when number 12, the Eagles are on the clock, and I have them going corner J.C. Horn. I'm very fond of J.C. Horn. I like him a lot. I like him better than Patrick Surtain. I know there's a toss-up. Some people like Surtain better. Some people like Farley better. But to me, I like J.C. Horn. I like his competitiveness. I like his size, his speed. I like what he can do. I feel like you line him up across from Darius Slay. I feel it's a great tandem. And I just feel that he's the type of player that is just going to get better and better because he's just going to work on his craft, work on his technique. Just his mindset seems like he just wants to be the best. And not saying these other players don't want to do that, but I really like J.C. Horn. I feel like he's there at 12 for you, and you get him. I feel it's a hell of a pick.
Yeah, I like Horn a lot also. I have Surtain slightly over Horn. But my reasoning for Surtain over Horn is Surtain has been doing this for a bit longer than Horn has. Like Horn had his breakout year this year, whereas Surtain, he's been an all-pro essentially for 3 seasons. But Horn definitely has a lot of upside to him. Very physical corner. I like the pick.
Number 13, the Chargers are selecting, and I feel they have to get protection for their franchise quarterback, Herbert. So I'm going offensive tackle, Christian Darrisaw. I know that we've mocked him in numerous mocks here. I just feel this is a pick that the Chargers need to get offensive line help for Herbert. And I feel Darrisaw is a very athletic, and this tackle class to me is really deep. And we've talked about it on how many guys you could possibly see in the first round, and you can even get a few guys in the second round that are pretty talented as well. So this class is very deep. But if Darrisaw is there, I feel that'd be a great pick for the Chargers.
Yeah, they went out and they I think they signed right tackle Brian Bulaga from Green Bay. So I mean, get your left tackle Darrisaw, get Herbert his protection.
Number 14, I have a little bit of a riser here. Defensive end, edge rusher, Jason Owa from Penn State. And Minnesota could go a couple of ways here, but I feel they need defensive line help. They need edge rushers. They need defensive ends. Daniil Hunter was hurt all last year. I don't really know what's going on with him because I know there was some talk about does he really want to play in Minnesota? You know, you have all that. There's no Everson Griffin. He left last year in free agency. Well, he is a free agent. He could always join them back, but he's a shell of his former self. They don't really have great edge rushers, and I feel Owa is a guy that his potential is super high. He has basically one of the highest ceilings in the draft, and I feel that Minnesota I feel he's a guy that could go a lot earlier than people think. So I just have Minnesota getting a need right here and getting Owa because he fits more the 4-3 than I think a guy like Ojulari fits more of a 3-4 type of scheme. So I feel Owa fits what Mike Zimmer likes to run on defense.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think he would be a good fit for the Vikings. He has so much athletic upside to him. He didn't really have all the time in the world to get it together 100% at Penn State with a shortened season last year. He was able to get some consistent pressure, never really had the sack numbers to wow everyone. But with his athleticism, he has a lot of room to grow and become potentially an all-pro.
All righty. And with number 15, the Lions traded back from 7 to 15, and I have them selecting wide receiver from Alabama, Jalen Waddle. And the reason I have them selected a wide receiver here is they lost some players in free agency.
Galladay and Jones.
You lost Marvin Jones. You need to get a guy that is going to, one, stretch the field, and two, is going to help out the quarterback they have in Jared Goff. So I feel this is a position of need. And if you get it, you're able to trade down, get more picks because Lions don't have that many draft selections. It gives them, more ammunition in this draft to get some more players. But they also get a receiver that I feel is, the number. I think Waddle's the number 2 guy, and I think Smith's number 3. But Waddle is such a dynamic playmaker on offense.
Yeah, I think the value here after trading down is also insane at 15 to get Waddle. I could honestly see Detroit taking him at 7. So to add 46 and another second rounder next year and get Waddle still, that's a great move by Detroit, to be honest.
Especially the 2022 and 2023 drafts are going to be so sought after in terms of the selections in that draft. So you're essentially getting a very high value pick with that, getting the 2022 pick. Number 16, Arizona Cardinals. They can go a number of ways. I had them going defensive tackle Christian Barmore. Defensive tackle is not a deep class, but I know a lot of people think Barmore will probably go in the 20s, but there's a lot of talk that I've seen around the league that he can go a lot higher than people expect. And this is why I have him higher, is because I feel like he's going to go a lot higher than people think. And Arizona, I know they signed J.J. Watt. I know they have Zach Allen. I know they got some guys, but they were decimated last year on the defensive line. And I feel that's to me, it's just a position of need. You get a young guy to be able to build around. I feel that Arizona could go definitely this route, defensive tackle.
Yeah, I feel like with Surtain on the board, it's basically between him and Barmore, to be honest.
Yeah, but I went the defensive tackle aspect on that.
Yeah.
Just watching them last year, signing guys off the street because they've had so many injuries and they didn't have, they had some poor play at defensive line. And I know our buddy Jeremy Bridges would attest to that. He could definitely fill anybody in on any position for the Arizona Cardinals. So.
Yeah, I think that there's like you were saying, Barmore could go higher than everyone's expecting because the defensive tackle class is just so weak that if you miss out on Barmore, you're up shit's creek.
I was very close to putting Barmore for the Giants just for you.
Oh no.
But then I thought, I just think that would be one of the dumbest decisions, just because you have Leonard Williams just signed, you have a young Dexter Lawrence. To get another guy, to me, it just didn't fit, and I wasn't going to do it just to do it. But
you were going to do it to mess with me.
Yeah, that's basically what I was going to do. That's true. Number 17, the Las Vegas Raiders. They could go a number of ways here too, but I have them going offensive tackle, Tevin Jenkins. To me, I feel this pick should be an offensive tackle just because they re-signed Colton Miller, but they really don't have much of anything else, even on that offensive line. They have some younger guys. Incognito came back, but they did trade Gabe Jackson and Rodney Hudson. They did get rid of some guys on that offensive line, but I feel left tackle is a big need for them. And Jenkins is again, he's a very talented player. Like we said, this offensive tackle class is deep. So I feel this is a good value pick for the Raiders to get that offensive tackle.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Tevin Jenkins, to be honest. I think he's in the debate for the third offensive tackle spot with actually Christian Darrisaw. But the kid's given up, I think, maybe like 2 sacks his entire college career. He's been a plus run blocker for Hubbard his entire career. There's a lot he can do. He's very well-rounded.
Yeah. Number 18, I have the Miami Dolphins' second selection going linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, JOK. And for me, it's basically Miami has a selection of really doing whatever here because there are a ton of players still left on the board. They got the receiver early. Yeah, they can go offensive line, but I feel a guy like JOK is there, and Brian Flores can use him so many different ways in that defense. And they did get rid of a few linebackers that they had last year. I know they signed a few guys, but I feel like JOK can play down the box safety. He can play linebacker. He can do a bunch of things for Miami, and for them to get younger and to get this type of player, I think is super beneficial for that franchise.
Yeah, I like the value of him here too because he has the potential to be such a great defensive player. He's kind of like that Isaiah Simmons mold where he's like a linebacker, safety, do it all for your defense, step up and be that leader.
Mm-hmm. Number 19, the Washington football team. Now, there's no real quarterbacks on the board that you could take. I'm not buying into the Kellen Mond. I'm not doing that. I know there's been
19 might be a little early.
Yeah, I would say so. But I have them going. Devontae Smith is still on the board. Wide receiver Devontae Smith. I know you have Terry McLaurin, but to me, you get another player like Devontae Smith to play on the outside. And unfortunately for teams in the NFC East, their offense is starting to take some shape because the defense already is pretty solid. If you look at the defensive line and what they can do on that defensive side of the ball. And I feel Devontae Smith gives them another weapon on that offense because you got Antonio Gibson, you got Terry McLaurin, you got Devontae Smith, then you have Logan Thomas. You have some players on that team for Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, they added Curtis Samuel too in free agency, so that's another weapon receiver wise.
But
so I think I like that pick there for Devonta Smith. Plus, when you do decide to finally get like your young quarterback, you already have like a position where he can actually succeed. You're not throwing him into the fire. He's got some weapons to go along with it.
Yeah, I agree there. And with number 20, this is where the fall of Patrick Surtain stops. I have Atlanta selecting Patrick Surtain. You mentioned before the show, if Atlanta is able to drop down to 20 and still get one of the top corners in the draft, it's an absolute super win for them, basically. You get a corner that's going to be day one starter for them. To me, it's a no-brainer. You get a guy that is going to be able to play 8 to 10 years in the league, and he's going to be a solid starter. He's going to be a solid player. And Atlanta trades back, is able to collect assets, and able to still get a top-tier player.
Yeah, I feel like this is a no-brainer here. You have to take him if he's still on the board.
With number 21, Indianapolis Colts, I know they did sign some offensive linemen, but Anthony Costanzo's retirement, left a void at left tackle. I know they signed Sam Tevy from the Chargers, but I have been going offensive tackle Dylan Radins. One of my favorite players. I know you really like Tevin Jenkins. I'm high on Radins from North Dakota State. So you get a left tackle from North Dakota State to protect a quarterback from North Dakota State. See a little trend there that I put. But I feel that offensive tackle is a huge need for the Colts. And this gives them a guy that can grow and build into, a top player. Because he showed really well at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, I don't think signing Sam Tevy should stop them from drafting a left tackle at all. I mean,
No.
we saw how bad the Chargers were last season, so yeah, I like adding Redunds. Only other thing you could possibly do here, maybe add a wide receiver, but with how deep the receiver class is, you get the offensive tackle first.
Agree there. And number 22, the Titans, I'm going edge rusher Azeez Ojulari. They lost Jadeveon Clowney to the Browns. He signed with the Browns this week. And I just feel the Titans need some edge rush help. They need some players. And Ojulari is a player that would fit right into that style of defense that Mike Vrabel runs. Stand up 3-4 outside backer. And, he's a young player, but he can come in and be like a third down edge rusher for the Titans and grow into being an every down edge rusher.
Yeah, I think this is a great pick. They're bottom 5 in sacks last year. You got to go all out fixing the problem. They already added Bud Dupree in the offseason. Get Ojulari now. You can make a big difference in that defense, just those two guys, to be honest.
So with number 23, the New York Jets' second selection, they sit there and they're able to get a top defensive back, which is a big need for them in the defensive backfield. Cornerback Caleb Farley, who checked out medical wise, he checked out fine. All pluses, everything was okay there. So that's good for them. It's good for him. And I still think he's going to be a first round selection. I don't think he's going to go super high just because I know he just had surgery and he was opted out last year. I know he's had some injury issues, but if he's healthy, he is a heck of a player. And it gives Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh, it gives them a top corner. And, he's a big guy, 6'3". For them, that defense and what they want to run, I feel it's a perfect fit.
Yeah, I think Farley would go so much earlier if he didn't opt out and if he didn't have all that injury history. So he's a pretty good value here at 23, especially with how badly they need a corner down there.
Yeah. Number 24, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I thought about going running back here, but I opted not to just because I feel offensive line is a bigger need for them. If you watched them last year, especially later in the year, second half of the year, they struggled. They struggled run blocking. They struggled pass blocking at times. And I got them going offensive lineman, Elijah Vera Tucker. To me, he can play tackle, but he can play guard. He can do so many things for them, and they can plug him wherever. They've had they've had some issues on the offensive line. Their offensive line not getting any younger. Pouncey retired, and they need some more stability. They need to get younger on that offensive line, and I feel Vera Tucker can be a guy that they can plug in a few spots, and I feel that it's a pretty value pick at number 24.
Yeah, I like him a little bit better as a guard than a tackle. I'd probably play him on the opposite side of David DeCastro. I think that they're ultimately probably going to bring back Villanueva. Still unsigned at this point. I do like building up the offensive line here.
Yeah, and that's why, like I said, that's why I put O-line and didn't put offensive tackle.
He could do both. There's a lot of players like that on the offensive line this year in this class that have that versatility.
Yeah, exactly. Number 25, Jacksonville, second selection. I had them going safety Trevor Moehrig from TCU. I think they still need some defensive back help, and he's the best safety in this class. And, you're getting at number 25. A lot of people have him mocked. I've seen a lot of people have him around like the Raiders range, around that, which I could see that as well. But I am going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. It helps their secondary, adding another young player to that team.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I think this is a difficult selection actually to mock for Jacksonville. I mean, they're kind of set at receiver. There's not really any interior defensive lineman worthy of picking here. I feel like safety is kind of like the best case scenario with what's left on the board for them.
Agree there. Number 26, Cleveland Browns. They're another team. If you look at their team, they have young players and they have some established players at almost every position. So it is kind of hard for them. It's almost like best player available, basically. And that's why I went linebacker Zaven Collins from Tulsa, because he can do a couple of things for them. He could be a linebacker. He could be, a box player. He could be a pass rusher. He can do so many things for them. So they can use him, a plethora of ways. They just signed Jadeveon Clowney. They did release Sheldon Richardson, but I feel defensive tackle is way too early for the second defensive tackle in the class to be going. But I feel Collins fits something for them that they can use him anywhere. And almost like you said with JOK, the Isaiah Simmons factor in terms of Collins here.
Yeah, I like Collins a lot. I mean, he was very, very productive for Tulsa last season. I think he's a good pick. I thought Cleveland would go edge, but after signing Clowney, I kind of ruled that out. But adding Collins and Clowney to that defense, I mean, Cleveland could be pretty good next season.
Yeah, and again, that's also another reason that I went offensive lineman for Pittsburgh. So it culminates in what your division foes do as well. But number 27, another division opponent, Baltimore Ravens, which it seems like every single year, the first round, you mock a receiver to them because it seems like they never have a receiver. And I know they have Brown, but what is he really? We really don't even know. And I went Rashad Bateman. I know some people are real high on Kadarius Toney, and he's a heck of a talent, but I feel Bateman fits the outside type of receiver that Baltimore absolutely needs. And Willie Snead signed with the Raiders. They don't have him anymore. Yeah, you have Brown, but I just feel that Rashad Bateman he's not. I know he ran a fast 40, but he's not a burner. He's a guy that runs really good routes, get open. His hands have some issues at times, but if you can get him at the end of the first round, I think it's great value pick.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of receiver Baltimore really actually ends up going with, because they like to just add those burners to their offense repeatedly. So I feel like Bateman doesn't really fit that profile, even though they do need an outside receiver. It comes down to, do they decide that they want to keep spending their picks on these burners at receiver, or do they want to get a true outside threat? If they want to go with a burner, honestly, there's a chance they could take Rondale Moore here. I mean, he fits like the Marquise Brown type of player, a little bit on the smaller side, runs 4.2 40. But I think Bateman is good for what they need. I don't know if it's what they want, though. If that makes sense.
If you look at what they have,
yeah.
Yes, they have Marquise Brown. Yes, they have Miles Boykin, who's more of an out towards an outside guy. But they have slot guys in Prochet and Duvernay.
Yep.
To me, they don't have that superb outside guy, which Bateman would fill for them. And it could help them in case the run game isn't working. You can get a guy that is able to get open, play the outside, and you're not only a one-dimensional type of team. So that's the reason I went with Bateman instead of a guy like Moore or a guy like Toney or something along, that aspect.
Yeah, I agree that it's a good pick for what they need. I just don't know if Baltimore can resist.
Yeah.
Take that, because they have a type. I mean,
that's true. It's 100% true, and you never know. We could wind up going that way. Number 28, New Orleans Saints. I have them going corner, Greg Newsome from Northwestern. And Saints had cap issues this year, and they did get rid of a couple corners. So to me, they need to rebuild that secondary. They need to add some young, youthful talent to that secondary. And I really like Newsome as a player. I wished he dropped to number 37 for the Eagles. Like I wouldn't be, mad if the Eagles would draft two corners, first, second round. But I feel that Newsome's stock is rising, that he's not gonna make it to 37. He's gonna either go the end of the first round or he's gonna go right at the beginning of the second round. But he's a player that has definitely risen, and he comes from a great program. Pat Fitzgerald is such a great coach and coaches technique, and I just feel that Newsome is going to be a really great pro.
Yeah, I think it's a good pick, especially with them letting go of Jack Rabbit and Norris Jenkins. They really don't really have much depth now behind Lattimore. I'd say it's a pretty good pick.
So number 29 is where I had another trade, the final trade of my mock, and it's the Eagles trading back up. I know there's talk about the Eagles possibly liking to trade back into the top 10, but I have them coming back into the first round because, one, they have the assets to do it, and two, if a player like Terrace Marshall is there, I go up and I pick them. And that's what I had the Eagles doing here. I have them going Terrace Marshall from LSU, and I like, a little over 6'2". He played very well, and I just feel he fits the type of offense that Sirianni is going to want to run. If you look at what the Colts do, Marshall is an outside guy, bigger receiver, has some speed, and I think he kind of got a little overshadowed from, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, but I feel Marshall is a very, very talented player, and I feel he'll fit right into the Eagles, and it gives them an outside guy, an X receiver that basically they should be looking for come this draft.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he gets overlooked a lot because of Jason Jefferson, but he was almost as productive as both of those guys in the same offense. So I think it's a good pick here by Philly. I mean, they have 11 picks in the draft. You're not going to pick 11 rookies, and have them on your team next season. You use those assets, trade up, get the player that you really want.
Yeah, and it's you're going from 37 to 29, which really doesn't cost you a whole heck of a lot. So
yeah, you get that 50-year option too.
Exactly. So number 30, the Buffalo Bills. I still think edge rusher, defensive end is a big need for them. They got some aging players, and I got Jalen Phillips here. He's a riser. He's a very uber talented player. I know he's had a little bit of injury concerns, but if he's healthy, he showed this year the type of production and the type of player that he can be. And I feel Buffalo gets a young defensive end that they can build with, and to help, to be behind those veterans learning. But I feel Phillips is a great selection here at number 30.
Yeah, I like the idea of adding some youth to that line. They're already kind of old with Jerry Hughes, Mario Addison. They already got younger a little bit when they added Ed Oliver. Was it 2 seasons ago in the first round? They drafted AJ Epineza in the second last year, kind of adding that youth to the defensive line a little bit. I like it because Phillips has a lot of upside if he can actually stay healthy.
Yeah. Number 31, Kansas City Chiefs. We know with the offensive line situation, they did cut their 2 left and right tackles, and I know they signed Joe Thuney. They added some, high caliber talent there. But I have them go off the tackle, Sam Cosmi, and he's the type of player that's really opened eyes with people just because of how he tested and everything. But again, it shows to you how good this offensive tackle class is, and I feel this is a guy that you get a young guy to play on the line. Does he start? Possibly, but it's still a player, a young offensive tackle that the Chiefs can build with. And Andy Reid loves offensive linemen. Being an Eagles fan, that, and it gives them a player who tested super well, super athletic, and it gives them somebody to build with.
Yeah, I think it's offensive tackle all the way for them here. Kind of a toss-up between Cosme, Eichenberg, and even maybe Leatherwood here, but I do like Cosme a lot just for the athletic upside that he showed at his pro day.
Yeah, and number 32, final pick of my mock draft. And this one was tough because you look at the Bucs, they re-signed just about everybody from last year. And it was tough to kind of find a weakness, if you can say that. But what I did was I just went as basically getting some more depth for them. And that's why I'm going defensive lineman, Boogie Basham, Carlos Basham from Wake Forest. To me, it's the way I look at the Bucs are, you have, JPP, you have Shaq Barrett, you have some of these, you have Sue, you have all these players, but Basham can do a couple of things. He can rush the passer as an edge. He can play inside. He could do a couple of things for them, and they don't have a lot of depth behind those guys. So this gives them a younger player, gives them some depth because those other guys are getting up in age. They're getting in their 30s. So you get a younger player behind them. And that's, the reasoning that I got, I put Basham there.
Yeah, I had the same problem when I did my mock draft. I just really couldn't find any weaknesses on the roster. Basham's a guy I'm a big fan of. He had a tackle for a loss in, 22 or 23 straight games. He's consistently in the backfield. The only other spot maybe if you could go for Tampa Bay is if you want to give him another wide receiver to replace Antonio Brown if he doesn't come back, but I don't really see that really is a big need either.
Yeah, exactly. They still have Tyler Johnson. They have Scotty Miller. So it's,
exactly.
You really look at it and, for them, they can basically do whatever they want. They can go wherever they want because they're right.
BPA.
Exactly. But that is my final mock draft, and some things I want to talk about is some promotion stuff. Hemp Bombs, premium CBD products, sponsored by them. www.hempbombs.com. Promo code AATBirds for 20% off your first purchase. So definitely make sure you check that out. Also, 99jersey.com is also partnered with AAT Birds. Use the same code AAT Birds for a 20% discount at checkout. Got a lot of great, cool jerseys. So definitely check that out. 99jersey.com. And also, Statement Games. The Ultimate Statement, sponsored by Statement Games. It's coming soon to YouTube only, so definitely check that out. It's a free daily fantasy site. It's really cool. It's basically changing the way of daily fantasy, so definitely check that out. They do have an app, Statement Games, so definitely check that out and keep your eyes peeled for the Ultimate Statement, which is coming soon to YouTube only, a YouTube exclusive. Also, Manscaped, your balls will thank you. 20% off. Your balls will thank you. 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds. So definitely check that out. They have a lot of great products. So absolutely take a look at Manscaped and use the code AATBirds. I am going to play the video one more time of my final mock draft for anyone who is tuning in a little bit later and did not see it. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll say a couple things on what we got planned for next week. So let me get that up. that is my final mock draft. But next week we are going to have a community mock draft. It's going to be our last show before the draft, and it's going to have, of course, Tommy and I, and we're going to be joined by 3 others. So 2 AAT Birds writers and another buddy of mine. We are going to be doing a community mock draft. We're going to go pick by pick. We're each going to have a pick in just almost like a snake type of draft or a rotational type of draft, and should be fun. Should be a fun packed episode to see where all of us go, basically. So that's definitely, keep your eyes on that. And the draft's coming up. It's fun. So don't we're going to have some things planned. We're going to be doing a lot of YouTube recorded stuff and then dropping it. So we're not going away, but we're not going to be doing, after the draft, we'll have our episode to break down the draft. But then after that, we're going to be doing YouTube recorded shows that'll drop. So they won't be live shows, but we're going to be doing some things in terms of redrafts. We're going to do best draft picks of all time, the worst, the biggest flops, stuff like that for some real fun content. And any other ideas that anybody has that they want to shoot us, any messages, if anybody wants to be on any of those recorded shows, message Tommy or I, and we'll definitely set that up. But you can follow Tommy at tbarnett91. You can follow myself at johnnyU9322. And want to thank everyone for joining. I want to thank everyone for commenting. We appreciate it. And we will be back soon. So keep your eyes tuned. Anything to say, Tommy? Anything last word?
I'm looking forward to this community mock draft next week. I mean, I feel like it's gonna be nice to get some other ideas in here. Maybe have some of these guys shake things up a little bit. See what some of their opinions are. Some of these guys too.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a fun night.
Yeah.
But with that, want to thank everyone, and like I always end everything, go Birds.
Support for All About the Birds is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They obsess over their technology developments to provide you the best tools for your grooming experience. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. We have an exclusive offer for our listeners, 20% off plus free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. Manscaped hooked us up with a bunch of tools and formulations from their Perfect Package 3.0 kit, including the Lawnmower 3.0, which comes with an LED light for a more precise shave and is waterproof to make your shower shave clean and easy. The Perfect Package also includes a deodorant for your undercarriage to prevent odors and chafing, a reviving lotion, a pair of boxers and a t-shirt, not to mention a travel bag to store all your grooming goodies. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code AATBirds at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code AATBirds. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. Your balls will thank you.